Proxy Table Gaming, PTG. I'm Hyper G with lucky sixes.
I'm going to do this whole bat rep in mine.
Oh no, I hope not. Yeah, that's if I'm right on my description. You're very trusting that I am going to be able to interpret your pictures. So this is the Ashes. This is the second practice, if you can call it practice. We'll find out at the end whether it's practice or not. No. I've got to actually pay attention to the miming. Right.
No, that's
So
right.
this is
Sorry. No, that's going to be hard. That's harder than I thought. We won't do
especially
that.
as I'm already wrong.
Yes. So no, this is you are right on the Ashes. Actually, you are right.
Yes,
so,
that part.
But this is not a practice. Oh no, no.
Well, no, I was saying it's a practice if you don't win, but it's
it kind of,
that
yeah.
that
Sure.
little thing. But we don't want to spoil any of that, so yeah, all good.
Yeah, I guess that goes back to our last game, our last practice against the Americans.
Exactly,
Yeah,
which didn't matter at all. You can't even
Um,
remember who they were.
But I tell you what, it was good practice because I was again paired up against Sylvan Elves.
I know. I mean, what's going on? What's going on?
Which
Wasn't Sylvan's one of the ones that you were a little bit nervous about?
nervous because I just think they have so much shooting. But I am vampires and I can heal it, so there is that.
Yeah.
I'm not the worst person to go against Sylvans. But before the tournament, I did say to my team, I'm a bit nervous against Sylvans, and don't put me against dwarves.
Okay.
I just don't want dwarves. Just any fight, even if it's a super green matchup, I just don't want dwarves.
Super green matchup.
I don't
So
want them.
Hugh walks over to you, round, and he says to you, "Your opponent has only remembered to write down an army list of 500 points,
Of
but it's
dwarves.
dwarfs." And you say, "No,
Look, I
no,
told you.
no. My
They're
4,500.
dwarves.
I'm not playing dwarfs, even though I
Yeah.
outnumber them 9-1 in
I'll pack
points.
my
I'm
things.
still not.
I'll take my ball and go home.
Yes,
Um,
brilliant. No
but yeah,
dwarfs. Got
no.
it.
So that was
Okay.
my thing. So
Noted.
day one, two Sylvans, which
Mm-hmm.
I didn't not want to play, but I wasn't. I was like, you know what? They're super maneuverable. I got burned a bit in March of Victory, where I got some war dancers in the flank of my main unit. I'm like, I've
Did
got to be.
you? I didn't hear about
Don't.
that.
So I've got to be
I'm glad you
super on
brought it
it.
up.
I've got to be super on it, and I was just like, right, this is like proper test. I felt so against Sylvan elsewhere, and a bit
Redemption.
of a bit of a bogey team in the past, bogey army from the past. So there's that. But vampires can soak it up, and I'm designed to do that. So let's go, baby. This is my list, as we know. Talk through it a lot. Basically, all the spells, 14 spells. The two courtiers at the top go in the skeleton bunker with the court. The third courtier goes in with ghasts. I've got wraiths to add some spells and maneuverability, and vampire knights for scoring and some damage. So, all in all, and loads of chaff because I think on vampires got some good chaff options. Sylvan Elves. So in terms of characters, less characters this time than Caps did for America. He has got the Shamanism plus Cosmo, so he's like minimal magic and binding scroll. But it does mean he's got even more stuff.
Yeah.
So much stuff in the rest of it.
Oh man, the Wild Hunters only appear like halfway up the list. And then it's stuff underneath that. That's
so
scary.
He's got, what's that, 39 archer shots, Heath Riders with shots, I mean, 15, 22 Wild Huntsmen, some Forest Rangers as a unit, 21 Blade Dancers. Blade Dancers I didn't feel were too... I wasn't scared as I normally am because they're smaller units, but still.
You can grind them out, yeah.
There's still a lot. Some Briar Maidens for some poison shooting. And 2 Lost Pathfinders for some shooting. And I was like, oh my god, there's so much stuff. It looks like such a good list. But
yeah,
we go. So the one thing as well that I was
no
cautious of. No BSB. But the one thing I was a lot of it's fearless though. But Blade Dancers Huntsman are fearless. Possibly Forest Rangers as well, but I'm not sure. The one thing I was fearful of was the Wild Huntsman with a flaming standard going into my ghasts. So that was one thing I really wanted to try and avoid at all costs, because they just go through my strength 6. Is that? There'd be strength 6, and then they've got the shamanism Cosmo stuff. Just sounds like bad news to me.
Yeah.
Refuse flank and hold the center. So it was kind of good that hold the center I was up in terms of things, but refuse flank meant we were a lot closer for his longer range, basically bombs of Wild Huntsman and stuff like that. So yeah, I
it's
think
a bit harder for you to get to the center if he's already practically defending
and if you haven't seen the Australian lists in all, go and look at the Australian lists. I think 5 of them don't have magic. They're in your face type lists, and they're really, really fun. But to be refuse flank and hold the center meant they were going to push at you anyway, and they're really going to push at you now. So it was one of them styles of rounds. So yeah, in terms of the rest of the team,
look at that green wave.
I know. And again, it starts with me as well, so I absolutely need to come through for it. I've just noticed there's the American flag as well. Don't worry about it. They're all the same. Americans, Australians, they're all the same, mate, aren't they?
Whoa!
But yeah, so this was the matchups. Again, have a look at the lists and see if you agree. If you want to go into lots of detail with me,
I disagree. I disagree.
Yeah, I knew you would. But essentially, from our point of view, it looks super good, and we kind of, I believe, we threw Darren under the bus because he got a red in order to get overall better matchups.
Interesting tactic.
We were close to.
Was Darren aware?
yeah, he was.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
But I think it was close to like a middle-ish big win. Not a cap win, but yeah, a pretty good win. So if everyone gets predictions, we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
This was a nice little picture, I thought, of the pairing bit. Everyone looking.
I was about to ask
super intense. Oh yeah, right. So
I like Josh is doing like that sentry. Anyone comes near me, I'm biting them.
Yes, I'm gonna shoot you from afar. Wes is like, I don't like what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a red.
Yeah. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. And Luke's distracted. So, but no, we it was quite nice. And this was the fabled Ashes Urn.
That's a lot bigger than the cricket one.
It is very much so. Very much so. So you can see the. Going back from old Warhammer days as well, so it's been going on a long time, and it's continued on there. In fact, actually, if I go back, so the one you can just see his T-shirt, the Payne Train himself. Mr. Payne was Jaime Payne, to use his full name, was there, and very experienced ETC-er. I later found out, which is probably good to find out later. But yeah, so. That was good. So I was definitely up against it in terms of that, but eager to go. And yeah, here we are. So he dropped for first.
How rude!
Because he could. I know, it's like he doesn't know me, or he does. I'm not sure. He's got his scouters in there. They're not obviously on the impassable, but they will scout later. So I deployed Dustly. His flaming guys, the ones I was telling you about, are the ones over not quite left, but the second left. So if we go on his list, he's got Sylvan Blade Wild Huntsman, then some shooting guys, then some Flaming Sword Lance Wild Huntsman, in front of them War Dancers, then a big unit, 19 archers with War Dancers in front, small unit of archers with the light troops, Heath Huntsman hunters behind. Then he's got the third unit of Blade Dancer, Sylvan Blade Wild Huntsman with Blade Dancers in front, Forest Rangers, and the Briar Maidens. So he puts all that down and he goes, right, your turn. And I go, okay. So I put.
Did he do it that quick?
It was super quick. Super quick. So I ummed and ahed for a little bit, actually. I actually took my time quite a bit on this, on where I wanted everything. Obviously, I knew from the last battle that the Phantom Host could be quite useful, so I wanted them fairly central, because there's no magical attacks anywhere. I wanted my gas the complete opposite side of those flaming guys, so I was happy enough putting them this side of the ghouls. The ghouls were a tough one, because I knew that actually they were going to be a potential liability with all his shooting.
Well, you
So
saw the shooting on the ghouls in the last one, didn't you?
exactly. So I put my skeletons this side basically in order to try and convince him that because they're closer and can be targeted by everything, that they were the unit he needs to go after. So
Okay. Do the skeletons heal more back from an arise than ghouls?
no, so there's DC plus 4, but they do have a 5-up save.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's 6-up,
yeah.
right? But yeah. So anyway, there's that. One of my dogs go behind. This is before Vanguard as well, because I know that I don't want them to die because of easy points. The other dogs go that side because I think I'm going to have to chaff the Forest Rangers at some point, and they're fairly protected from his shooting over there. He can bring his Brider Maidens up. They're only 12-inch range, I think. So if he does want to do that, he's going to get killed by one of my bigger stuff. Vampires obviously over there in order to flank and to zone. I thought they could do a pretty good job there. And then I guess the last thing to talk about is my wraiths being all the way over here. And I kind of had an idea that they would just zone as much as they did in the last battle, and if they just zoned, then I'm pretty happy.
What, the last battle when they had the Vampire Knights backing them up, you mean?
Backing them up, yeah. So
so this time you thought they were fine on their own.
yeah. So obviously we've got the Pathfinders, and there's that, and if it drew the Pathfinders that way, and they put them all the way over that side, then fair enough. But I do have double move, and all the move shenanigans. I've got 15-inch march on my general as well, so they're within the 15-inch march currently. And I was like, well, if this proves to be a terrible idea, I can just march him the other way and magic him, and then he's at least put something towards them to
play this hand about.
So if he ignores them completely, I might have a chance to sweep something, and if he doesn't, then he's put something towards them and not the rest of my army when I'm going to win the objective. So that was my thought. I didn't know whether it would come off, but my backup was, well, I'll just move him the other way. So
which is always fun.
And at least they're out of the line of sight of all the other shooting. So it's only only the 10 shots from Pathfinders that can go into him, and I've got 3-up save for that. So we'll see. This was his turn 1, and he decided to put the Pathfinders that side and to move, like you can see. And I was like, okay, because
getting out of there.
yeah, I think because he was as well. And you can tell like someone's a good player when they're like measuring. They're like, right, those are wraiths, so I need to measure 12.5 away so that they can't. They need a magical move, and if they're all the way over there, I just need to stop Raven's Wing. And he took his time over this, but it was because he was being so precise, and I was like, oh yeah, he's okay. He knows what he's doing.
He's been there before.
Yeah, so it was, while he was doing that, I was like, okay, are they a good deterrent there, or are they just going to get whittled down? And so that was my thought, and we'll see what I did later on. But so he moves up like so. He kills a few skellies and some ghouls, so he hasn't really. This is like he isn't focus fired. He's targeting everything a little bit, which was interesting. And then this actually jumps a few pictures, and I've decided to bail them out and run back to my army. But it did mean that they were then out in the open, and they lost 5 of their number. Obviously, they're a little bit harder to heal. I can heal them quite well because we're against another world, which is nice. But yeah, they just a lot died. To the shooting, and the 3-up save. Just it was good, but it wasn't maybe as good as it needed to be. So in terms of this goes on to my next movement phase. So we've kind of that was my movement.
Yeah, skipped a turn.
So there was my pictures weren't great on this one, but not a lot happened.
No, it
until
looks like it's
this.
similar to last game, and the flank is
Yeah,
turning a little bit as it goes.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for the most part, that's what it was, right? Things were happening. So at this point, and you can see my front host before I do this round.
Ding, ding, ding!
Time out, baby. Time out.
Is
Time
this
out.
your one or your opponent?
This was my one.
It's
So
your one.
this was my timer, and I said, right, I've got an opportunity here to, I guess, push up my Phantom hosts where he doesn't have magical attacks, and to somewhat chaff him into a position where he doesn't want to be. I've got my. So I thought this is what we talked about. I said, do I make a move, or do I? Because this is hold the center, so I'm currently winning hold the center as well, right? So if he wants to put his archers up there, he will get charged by my big block, and he doesn't want that. So
No.
I'm in a good position in that he hasn't actually come. This is like my turn 3, and he hasn't actually come forward much. He's just sort of shuffled round and gone to that side. I've now got to a position where both my dogs are safe and they can chaff these wild huntsmen, so that I can then, if I need to, turn my big block, and he doesn't want to go into my big block. I think actually with the court, even if they charge, they go second after my vampires and the court itself, because the court is agility 6. So if he charges in there, there's a good chance that with my 4, 8, 14 attacks at strength 6 and 5 respectively, that I chomp them before they go, which is not something you often say against Wild Huntsman.
No, it's not.
So if I can chaff them, I have a good chance of just turning around with that unit to keep them there and to get their points as well. So I'm in a decent position. I said, do I make a move or do I just sit? And he was like, okay, well, try a move and see where you're at, and as long as you don't like overcommit, sort of thing.
So who was chief timeout person that you consulted with? Who are we blaming it on?
Well, it's all the coach, right?
Oh, is it always Tom Uden?
Yeah. Tom Uden's the coach. Everyone else is playing.
You don't pick anyone.
No. Tom Uden every time, man.
Okay.
So this is how we ended up, and I think, and the idea was to make sure you're going to win the objective. Put it to him on whether he wants to make a big bash up of the game or not, because that's really what he's doing. And you can see some of the we mentioned it in the last one, movementtrade.com. Some of the sticks were very useful for lots of reasons, and I believe he's done the same as well with some of his. So, but yeah, it was basically move up, put the pressure on, and see if you can get a big win really from it.
Sure.
But this meant it was riskier than just staying back. And my spirit hosts, my phantom hosts, they're not going to go down easily, and at worst they're going to be chaff, and I'm going to then go into him and win. I don't mind war dancers, especially 7 against the ghouls. I don't mind them against the ghasts. I don't particularly like the ghasts against the forest rangers here, but I've got the knights to compensate. I'm not sure that's the right word, but
clean up afterwards.
Yeah, so
help out. Yeah,
I think he'll do a lot of damage, but I don't think he'll go through me in a round. And if he doesn't, then I'm golden.
Did you say they had a flaming banner? Or
not them? The flaming banner is now it's the central unit of Wild Huntsman at the back.
Sure.
So well out of the way, really, from that point of view. I also chose this moment to we talked about it. I mean, Tom, and because his Wild Huntsmen are all in a position where they're behind everything, they don't have easy / legal charges. He might be able to get him into the Phantom Host as well, but everything else he hasn't got a charge into. So actually, like, now was a good time to push with something and sort of set up counter charges and things. Overall, I'm sort of in a position where I'm relatively controlling the board state here, which was interesting. So yeah, that was it basically, and Boyo come in. Cheers for that. Over here, I just concentrated on everything on the rise. I actually diced him on one of them, So I started with 3. I diced him on one of the arises, and then he didn't have enough to stop my other one because I threw more dice than I needed at it. So I actually got 4 back because of Gates of the Netherworld on both of my Nosferatu guys. So I mean, I'm only down by 1 now, and that's a good position for those wraiths. And now, with that chaff, I might not even need to turn my big unit. I might just be able to sweep the Wild Huntsman if I get a chance. So that was really, really good.
And potentially that has warranted putting the wraiths there in the first place, because now his Pathfinders have wasted 2 or 3 turns trying to do something and not managing it, as opposed to helping out shooting skeletons or ghouls, right?
For sure. And so, I mean, I'm not sure it was a master plan, but it did kind of work in my favour, I think. Overall.
Yeah.
So, I'll take it if anybody wants to say it, though. So, this was his going into his turn. So it's another bit of an overview after the heals, basically. No other spells on anything but on the heals. And he took a timeout. Straight away.
Okay.
After it was just really, really. Again, this is my first ETC, right? So the timeout things is
before you talk about his timeout. Then during your timeout, which is how long?
I think it's 4 minutes. I think
Right. What was he doing during that? Did he just have to sit at his table?
So he can say that you can ask the opponent to leave, or you can go to a position where you're away from the table.
But he can't have his coach just come over and have a chat without calling a timeout.
No, not. To the letter of the law, but I mean, he can still sort of turn around and talk and stuff. I guess it's just you're not allowed to get advice.
For advice,
like things you could do outside was, coach, how's everything else looking? Do I need to push? Sure. Do I need to conserve?
Yep, sure.
Basically, like that's like
the D-pad
most
on the FIFA game.
Yeah, literally like the most you could do. You say how, and he could ask you how's it going. You could go good or.
Okay,
which I'm sure he could look at most of us and get it from our expressions, but exactly. But so there was that. But I didn't ask throughout the whole thing. I didn't ask anyone to leave.
Fair enough.
So
and I'm gonna win here. This opponent's all right.
If I do this, I win. But I hope he doesn't find out. But I guess another thing to say, obviously, because we're English speaking, it was only English speaking at the table, which was nice for us. But I guess when you're being coached or when you're coaching, you can talk in your native language as well. So that's like the only time you could then at the table talk about it.
So
simple
you
reason.
spoke in South Park then.
So we went. We went, let it ride.
That's your native language.
So he took his time out, and he was talking to his coach there and didn't ask me to leave. He was like, I've got 2 options. I run away, or I go in with everything. And I go, I could win big, but I could lose even bigger. So and I think what I was pleased with, from my point of view, was that I put him in a situation where he's had to think about it. I don't confess to being like a super good player or nothing, but I did feel like this was, I sort of put it by putting my Phantom Host there. I kind of gave him a decision, and that was all really, and that's not necessarily like a master play. And again, with the wraiths, that's just frustrated him, I think, as well. and after having so many, because I mean, I did heal really well, and I did save lots of 3-ups despite the amount of shots I took and damage I took. So he kind of just asked me like about the Phantom Host. He said, "How many points do they?" And I went 160, and he goes, "And they got a 3-up save like the Wraiths." And I was like, "Yeah." to non-magical, I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, then turned to his coach. That was during his thing as well. I was like, even if I go in here, it was like one of them sort of things. So he ummed and ahed as well, and he basically turned around at this point and he said, "I'll give you a 13."
Ooh.
And now this is my first ETC. I'm not really one for taking handshakes and things. But
At
we
any
had played
point,
3
before,
turns.
during, or after. After.
We had after. I'll take
After,
them
you just
after.
20 0 me, but I'll give you a 19.
But no. So yeah, I don't normally take shakes for things. And
Well, have you ever had the opportunity to?
no, this was my first time.
Yeah.
What I did is I didn't even make a decision. I said, "Coach, come over here," and I said, and he was like, he
And you're
wants to
allowed
give
to.
me a 13, and
Right.
my coach said to me, he said, "Are you going to get anything else? Are you going to get more than that? Because at the minute, I've got no points.
No.
He's got no points,
Yeah.
and I'm winning the objective 1-0.
Yeah.
It's likely I'm going to win it 2-0, and then
Yeah.
he's
If
got
it
3
ends
turns.
right now, it is 13-7.
Yeah. So he was like, and he was saying, "Look, I'm just gonna, I could just back up, and you will get a single point." And I was like, "That's a fair comment."
Well,
I
absolutely, it is.
I do have some shots, I guess, through magic, but I am blocky, and so we basically said, "Look, I could do the same." Like, he backs up. I could do the same. I could go guts for glory and try and get more points, which could get me more points, but it could also take a 13 down to a 1.
Yeah.
And this is the Ashes, baby. We need to be. And he was like, "You know what? Jamie's a great player. You got 13 out of it. You've played half the game. You've set yourself up." Tom said, "I think you should take it." And I went, "All right, I'll take your advice, because I am noob
You were
central."
quaking in your boots and hoping we would say that.
Yeah, right. But so there's a part of me that doesn't want to shake ever on anything, because we've still turned up and we've played. However,
You're
we
no
have
gentleman.
yeah, right. We have gone
is a
through the whole
blood sport.
process of like deploying, putting everything out there, making plays and things.
Yeah.
I was really happy with my plays up to now. I got a bit lucky that the race survived, I think. But once they did survive, it's put me in a really good position. Jamie's a good player. He knows what he's doing with things. I think he knows how to survive, and a list like this can just throw something away, take everything back, and not really lose anything from it. So yeah, so we shook, we were like, you know what? Let's have some beers. And
like
that
the
was
dirty swine you are. You took,
absolutely
took that bitter pill.
So in the end, this is my last picture.
Wow.
And a 13-7 it was, with 0 3 points scored on each. So a slight part of me that didn't want to shake, but I put myself in that position, and it's a win. It's a good win against a good player, and against an army
that's the bottom line.
Yeah, and an army that I do feel like you have to be on the ball on, at least. So yeah, it was great, and what it did then allow is me to then go and have a look at all the other battles and see how they're getting on, and have a good chat and a few bevies with Jamie as well, who's a lovely bloke, very good looking. I don't mind saying that.
Naturally.
Yeah. To Jamie, if you are watching this, I got lost in your eyes, and I'll know what that means.
Look, that we're going into the drinking and other things. It's top territory that we don't need to go back to. So,
absolutely. We should, so it took me to the end of.
How did the Ashes go? Come on, you're leaving us on experts.
Absolutely. So the Ashes, I got the 13, but it didn't look great elsewhere.
I saw the 16 first and thought everything was going well.
Yeah.
And then I saw everything else.
It wasn't fantastic. So I got a win. Josh got a win against Dwarves as well, and that was above his station, so well done. Everyone else, we didn't have a good time. I think is worth saying. Tanker, this I can't remember if I've ever said this, but Tanker got 0. Now, there was lots of things that went in this, and they were talking about his wretched ones getting like 4 overruns and things like this, which we've all been there. Oh boy, we've all been there.
Wretched rolls, you could say.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah. Very good. I like that.
It's worth noting, however, one thing you need to point out in this picture: Darren got exactly what he was told to get.
Absolutely.
So come on, yay, Darren.
But
Well done.
perhaps a point more as well.
Yes, I was going to say that's a good result there. But yes.
Yeah, that was against Herbie actually, who was on our
Oh.
the draw.
Okay.
So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah, it was really, really, really good fun. I actually spoke to him quite a lot at the Ashes meal that we did the night before, which thank God we did the night before. I don't think I could have taken it the night after. Oh my goodness, talking about the practice game that was against us.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
practice game. This one didn't matter either, right?
Yeah, so we won't go over the other scores. We will go to the end, and they capped us. And the reason that I mean, it's not a tournament. There is no cap.
No.
But the reason, but they will say they capped us because it's actually worse than this.
Oh really?
So,
Yeah, I was going to say that's a very round number.
By the technicality of ETC, we got 60 points. All right.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So yeah, no, and I don't like this picture. I'd much prefer this one. So we're going to end on this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jamie, thank you so much for the game. It was a really, really nice game, really tactical, and again, nice to share a few bevies afterwards as well. So and then that endeth day one, or day naught, I guess.
Practicing,
which personally for me went all right. I was pretty happy with two wins.
Yeah.
But for the team, we had two relatively big losses. Yes.
Oops.
Let's focus on the ETC. I think was
absolutely
the
yeah.
plan.
And so Australia retained the Ashes, right? They
had
it last time.
Yeah. I think they're on a bit of a run actually as well. I don't like to say, but they're on a bit. of a
we
run.
We won't say it then. Let's just not say it. And then it won't.
No, absolutely. But I mean, as much as I hate to say it, there's a bunch of stand-up guys, and it was nice to share the experience with them, if not get absolutely trounced.
But you didn't. 2-0 lucky sixes.
But I did 2-0 baby, 2-0 baby. There was again. It was one of those things where I sort of got my score. I was like, right, okay, how did everyone else get? And Tom was like,
yeah. Oh,
yeah. Don't worry about it. Well done, you. But I was like, okay,
all right,
enough. Right, Jamie,
stuff.
I don't accept. Let's get 20. But yeah, so no,
that could have gone very wrong.
Yeah, but so I guess from a team point of view, we need to sort of we went back and we had a look at some of the predictions and went, okay, are we up predicting and things like this, and we had a good talk that evening in the bar to continue the bevy nature, but also we from my point of view, I guess pretty solid games where I had to be pretty not defensive, but yeah, I guess I had to both games I had to sort of push, but not be too aggressive with it and not overcommit to anything. So yeah, and that's what the scores sort of get me, and it kind of pushed home, I guess, the way in which I have to deploy, and it was nice to have sort of like those deployments where he can get around me, so I have to be super on it with my flanks and things like that. And it was good enough, and put me in a good enough position to start ETC in a good good mindset. Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's have some comments from our wonderful viewers who are like, sharing, subscribing if they haven't already. Let us know your thoughts on handshaking, either mid or before battles. I'd love to know any interesting stories about that as well. I've never had the option as well myself. Never happened in any tournament or otherwise.
The way I'm taking it and justifying it to myself is that it was mid-game, so we'd already kind of played it out, so it was just a formality otherwise. But is that am I kidding myself? Is this am I just lying to myself to well, no, comment I mean.
Oh well, sorry, that was brilliant. Cool. All right, well we'll see you in round 1. The real thing begins in the next battle report, which I cannot wait to hear about.
Baby.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Should be good fun, and was good fun. So until then, see you later.